I accepted the.
Perfect. Hi, thank you so much for meeting with me. My name's Eileen Deane. I'm an immigrant correspondent for Latina Republic, which is a nonprofit that focuses on advocating and sharing stories of immigrants all around the US, and kind of just focusing on the lives of immigrants. And we love to work with organizations like Global Garden, Refugee Training Farm, and love the work you do. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, we're so happy to have you.
Yeah, my name is Haley LeRand, and I'm the executive director of Global Garden Refugee Training Farm. We have been in operation since 2012, and I've been involved since 2017.
Yeah, you guys are located in Albany Park, right?
Yep, just on Lawrence and Sacramento, right by the river. We have 1 acre of land that we also share with a separate community garden. They have a little sliver of the land along Lawrence Avenue, and we are the 1 acre behind them.
Okay, perfect. So why farming? What does farming really provide for refugees?
Well, a lot of refugees come from agrarian backgrounds. Many of our farmers, about 80% of them, are from Burma and had farms in their home countries. And their entire lives were ordered around the land, around tending the land. Not all of them, but most of them that are involved with our organization. And this so if you take somebody like that who has lived so closely with the land and has worked as a farmer, or has been a subsistence farmer, maybe that's they're not only making income from it, but they're quite literally living off the land. If you take someone like that and you plunk them in a major metropolitan area in the United States, it's going to be really different. So not only are we helping people connect to something their past, but also there have been a lot of studies about just the therapeutic benefits of gardening in general for many different populations. There's been work done on non-refugee populations, on immigrant populations, on refugees. So not only are people connecting with their past, but also cultivating this benefit of interacting with the natural world, vis-a-vis gardening. So
Yeah, I know that personally. I come from a family of Irish immigrants who are farmers, and so we've got a whole farming setup in our backyard, and it's great. The kind of like working with the land is also physically a great outlet for a lot of people. Um,
absolutely.
So how did you get into working with Global Garden, and how has your perspective on refugees and kind of the struggle of immigrants changed from your time starting with the organization?
Yeah, so I got involved in 2017 when we were a small nonprofit. We didn't have staff per se. Our founder, who has since retired, was running the farm on a small stipend. Um, And so I started helping her out just on a volunteer basis. I found the farm because I was doing research. I was working in anthropology research at University of Illinois at Chicago. And the research project I was working on was about how community gardens and urban farms can cultivate the well-being of Chicago residents. And so this farm was a research site, actually, and I thought it was just so fascinating. And so I started helping out Linda, the founder, and in 2017, and then in 2020, she got a large grant from the USDA that provided funding for a seasonal for staff, just a little bit. For both she and I to be funded. So I started out just part-time, hourly, helping out, and we've grown since then. We've gotten more funding, more staff, a lot. We've grown a lot just in the past 3 years. So, as far as your other question about how it's changed my perspective, I think, our name, Global Garden Refugee Training Farm, which we are actually, I should say that we're going to be changing that soon. We are soon going to be Global Gardens Chicago. And that's a separate thing I could go into, but the training aspect really, we're giving them skills to learn about like American vegetables, learn about how to sell their vegetables to an American audience. But really, they have a wealth of knowledge. And if anything, they've trained me more than, I've trained them. I mean, they're so resourceful. They can make something out of nothing. They'll find a stick in the park and somehow find 20 different uses for it. So they've really taught me what I feel like is way more than I've taught them, and also lessons in life too. They're very
Mhm.
community oriented. So that's something I've picked up from them. And I think that there is a lot of emphasis, as there should be, on charity for refugees, and sort of this perception as like the refugee as a person who needs to be helped, which they do. But there's also a desire from the people I've worked with to give back and to contribute to society themselves and not always be the ones who are helped. So by being able to sell their vegetables and make a good amount of supplemental income, I think that gives them a sense um of dignity and fulfillment. And that is one thing I'll also just tangentially I'll say is that our farm is split into two programs related to the farmers. Half of the acre is 3 by 30 or 40-ish plots for refugee families. There are about 65 of them, and they're growing for home consumption. And then the other half acre is split between 6 refugees that we call the market farmers. And they're
Mhm.
making like probably anywhere between 15 and 25 grand a year selling their produce. So it's not bad for, they each have like 2,000 square feet. So yeah, some are selling for income, some are just growing for home consumption.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of what you said about the wanting to kind of give back to the community, because there is that whole ideology of reciprocity in these communities that you give as much as you take, or and that kind of communication and how that can help build communities is people who share that kind of value with you. So it's very interesting to see how kind of people have started to build a community around what is just a connection to the earth and has developed into so much more.
Yeah,
Um,
good way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
they also the farm is, I think, even more so, and this kind of gets to some of the other questions you had sent me, but the farm is it's a community space just as much as it's a farm. I mean, we are all very close. We cook there together almost every night. People bring their food. People come at 4 a.m. and they leave at 9 p.m. So it's quite literally a home away from home for a lot of these people who don't, according to interviews and kind of informal surveying I've done with them, they don't really feel like there are other community spaces for them in the city besides their homes, friends' homes, or the farm. They're not gonna
mhm.
like go to a bar and hang out by themselves. So,
Yeah.
um, so it's just, yeah, it's an important community space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw some photos on your website of those kind of nights cooking and stuff. That looks like a lot of fun. Um,
Fun. And you can't Burmese cuisine. We have a lot of different ethnic groups from Burma, but I'll just say Burmese for ease of, referencing. But food from Burma, you can't, there's no Burmese restaurant in Cook County. The closest one is in Wheaton, Illinois. So it's actually a very difficult cuisine to get to eat.
mhm.
So that's another um angle I've kind of been exploring this year is how to leverage their cooking abilities, because they're making all these delicious things with their vegetables that a lot of people in Chicago wouldn't have tried before unless they've eaten at a Burmese restaurant somewhere else, or if they have a friend from Burma. So
Yeah, that kind of leads me into like, how do you think like native born citizens can kind of help people through your organization or help kind of rally and support this community that you've built?
So I have a lot of people, which I'm grateful for, reach out who want to volunteer and kind of do hands-on work. And we don't actually have a lot of that available. Take care of their own gardens.
Mhm.
So there's no like weeding or harvesting or planting. There's nothing related to agriculture that's available volunteer wise. Sometimes I'll have work days where I just need help like cleaning or organizing, stuff like that. But the most helpful way is to join our monthly membership program. So that, you know, we're trying to grow as a nonprofit. So even, even if somebody joins at $10 a month, this is all on our website, by the way. Even
Mhm.
if someone joins at like $10 a month, that can buy like a packet of seeds for one of the farmers. So that's our biggest need now.
Yeah, yeah, kind of creating room for the people who are actually farming to have that space to farm. Like you wouldn't want to take that away through volunteering because it is the actual practice of it too.
Yeah, and even if they do have like a lot of work, they don't, the farmers, they don't, I don't know how to say this. They don't want random people in their gardens. Like they
I get
um
it. I can't even touch my grandma's plants in our own
yeah,
backyard. I don't
yeah.
mess with her food.
So, we provide them all seeds, all tools, all support, and in order to keep doing that, to be honest, we just need grants and funding. So that's really like what I tell people is we don't need volunteers, we need money.
Yeah. You said you've kind of connected a lot with the people who are farming on this properties. How have you seen them kind of benefit from this space to work with the earth?
Yeah, that's a really I could really go into that. Because
Take it in
like
any direction you want to, as
yeah,
long
I because I have worked so closely with these people, especially the market farmers who I work
Mhm.
really close with, the six of them. I've been working with them pretty closely for 4 years now. And if you're working closely with refugees, they're gonna, they've been through a lot. They have opened up to me about a lot. They're more quickly going to go to somebody from their community or to someone they trust, like myself, perhaps, than like a therapist. If
Yeah.
they're having an issue, it's not really in their culture to like, even though there are like a lot of great services in Chicago for refugees and immigrants and therapists you know, who have studied within that realm, but they're not, they're,
It's
they're going to go to a friend. So
it's kind of like the not going to a stranger thing.
yeah. And I've seen the worst of the worst. I've, gone with people to doctor's appointments. You know, I've gotten really, really involved in all of their lives for better or for worse. I guess that's a conversation about like like how do you keep boundaries and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um but it's given me a window into how important the farm is for their mental health. And even if they're not if they're not saying the phrase mental health, I understand what they mean. For example, if I say they don't, like I said before, they don't really see an alternative of a space or way to spend their time. Like one guy said, I said, "Hey, what would you do if there were no farm? Like what would you do with your time?" I said to one of the market farmers, and he like didn't know how to answer the question.
Mhm.
He's like, "I would just be at home on the couch." I don't know. And they all said that. So, I've had people, I mean, I think it's less about what they're reporting to me. They're not like, "Haley, I see a 50% increase in my mental health," but more so by when I observe their actions, them coming there every single day, bringing their food, bringing their family every day, all day in the winter time, like trudging through the snow just because they want to be in the space, even though we don't even have an indoor space on the farm. Um, we're getting an office built later this year, so that'll be fun. But
Oh,
we've
nice.
operated without indoor structure. So it's mostly the dedication I see on their part, their dedication to the space, I think was how much it's.
Yeah. How do you manage that when it's not kind of growing season at the farm? Like, how do you still provide that space for these people who, in many ways, need it?
Yeah, so we as far as like we essentially shut down for the most part between December and February, when it snows. And I generally find that they kind of welcome the 2 months of rest. It sort of gives a rhythm to
Hmm.
life. Um, but they're still going over to friends' houses. They're still inviting, me and my staff to their Christmas dinner, stuff like that. So I think just, but for those who aren't, um, for those who maybe are a bit more isolated or not as connected to the Burmese community, maybe they're from
Mhm.
another country, maybe they're from a country in Africa, maybe they're Bhutanese, maybe they're Cambodian. Um, we have started having events at a local commercial kitchen. It's at the American Indian Center,
Mhm.
who is an org close to the farm, and they let us use their kitchen. So like over this past winter, we had a cooking class actually with some of the farmers, and that was a lot of fun. And we made Christmas cookies together. Um, Most people from Burma that I've worked with don't know how to use an oven, so that was sort of the topic. They wanted to know, how do you use an oven? What is it? And how do you make American style like Christmas cookies? So
Mhm.
indoor things like that are fun. Um, I think it's about balancing. My salary is such that I work about like 70 hours a week in the summer
Mhm.
and much less in the winter. So I also try to keep boundaries, like for myself.
Yeah.
Take it easy in the winter a little bit. But we also do meetings with the market farmers. So, like, how did it go this year? What problems did you have? What do you want to grow next year? Oh, you have an insect biting your kale. Let's talk about it. What is it? Here's how you
Mm.
fix the problem. So there's a lot of stuff like that too. We meet like once a month.
Yeah, it must be interesting, like when having these personal connections with people, trying to kind of also draw the boundary of this is also your place of work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I've struggled. I love my job, and I would be living my life the same way if I didn't have to make money, to be honest. And it's really, I think, a rare thing to say. Um, but yeah, still gotta have some boundaries. Still gotta take personal time.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like the work you do is so wonderful. And that seems like so much fun and so rewarding for like both parties to be able to come into this space and in many ways have cultural swaps and kind of connect in that way.
Yeah, that is a big one because and I love seeing that manifest at the farm, because while we are like 80% people from Burma, there are also folks from Africa, various African countries, like I said, Cambodia, and I like seeing them swap seeds, swap
Mhm.
meals. Like there's this vegetable called water spinach, and it's sort of a Southeast Asian green, and then suddenly it's popping up in this farmer's plot who's from Burundi in Africa. So I like seeing that kind of cross-cultural pollination, if you will. And I like seeing, neighbors come into the farm. The farm is open to anybody at any time. People wander in and buy produce. We have a concert series on the farm in the summer. We have cooking classes. So there are a lot of opportunities. We go to farmers markets. So there are a lot of opportunities for like the general public to be involved too.
Yeah, to come and kind of be able to get involved in some way if it's not volunteering or through membership. It can be coming in and buying produce or like maybe just setting aside a portion of your income to buy from farmers instead of
Exactly.
going to the grocery store.
That
Um,
is exactly right. And some of our markets, like the Lincoln Square Farmers Market and the Andersonville Farmers Market, they have um the link EBT, like people can pay with tokens or paper. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called, but they can pay with like a link, and then we get reimbursed through the market, so that's also a good opportunity for people who are maybe lower income.
yeah, yeah, it's absolutely necessary for people lower income to have access to fresh produce because that it's food deserts are still such a huge problem in Chicago. And I also wanted to talk about the cultural side just because I know how significant it is for immigrants to be able to go outside of their own cultural boundaries, that's a huge issue when coming to their city or country of destination, that when getting there, they often find themselves feeling isolated. And so it's important to have them come to a place where they have the opportunity to go outside of their cultural boundaries if they so wish to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, and I I think it's hard when you don't, like, some of our farmers don't speak the language. They don't,
Mhm.
speak any English. Some are illiterate. Some can't read their own language or English. And then, they just sort of stay within their family unit. Um, so I'm at least glad that the farm is there to kind of support that if they do want to stay in their family unit. I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah. Um,
Yeah, like from your experience working with so many people from different kind of immigration and refugee backgrounds, what do you think is one of the biggest kind of concerns that they face, specifically in Chicago as a city?
that's a really good question. You would be shocked, maybe you wouldn't be shocked, but it is so hard to do things that are as simple as renewing. Okay, here's how I can answer that. Bureaucratic things often related to health or like apartment hunting. Um,
Mhm.
I especially, for like, making an appointment for a particular kind of doctor, navigating health insurance, navigating benefits, navigating the Social Security. The Social Security office is a big one. I'm glad that people get Social Security benefits, but I've had to untangle a lot of their Social Security confusions and messes, um and I'm not a professional. I am not a social worker. I'm not a government professional. I'm just, an English speaker, but even for me, it's been hard to navigate like um oh, you got your benefits taken away because of this and this reason. I don't even understand why, or even in the realm of like uh getting health treatments for certain conditions like substance abuse or other particular conditions. It's really hard. They make it sound easy, like just call and make an appointment, and look up who's covered under Medicaid, but it's just not that easy. So
Yeah.
I think just bureaucratic related matters, apartment hunting, credit scores, um, I've had to help a lot of people with that and, you know, um, navigate finding a landlord who will take them because the wait Section 8 housing is too long. So
Mhm.
those are some things that come to mind.
Yeah, and that's not in the job description whatsoever. That's you having to act as their advocate in many ways. That's going above
Yeah,
and
yeah.
beyond, which is unfortunately something that not a lot of people are willing to do for others. So it's really great that you are willing to kind of be their advocate for them and be that English speaker that helps them untie those webs, because I know how much of a struggle that can be.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'd love to, like, maybe in the future. Our mission is we're not, and we've never tried to be a social service agency, but the more years that I work here, the more I realize that it's unavoidable. I am
You
gonna
can't
get,
separate them.
you can't separate them. Yeah, exactly. So I've been looking into ways like maybe we contract hire a caseworker, a social worker for contract work, and they can be like a point person for the farmers, and or they can help them navigate whatever medical system, health system, social security, whatever it might be. So that's a future goal. If we can get more funding, I'd love to hire someone like that.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if you get like an office, if maybe you can even get like volunteers that are just English speakers who can help.
Yeah, yeah. People who just want to get super involved and go to the social security office all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I even find it hard going into like going into the consulate downtown. I get confused. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing here, and no one's really direct with you. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can be
and it's
really tough.
that and like um dealing with USCIS immigration because people lose their green cards.
Mhm.
People are trying to become citizens. So that's another bureaucratic entity that where it's very hard to just get someone on the phone and get a straight answer. And pretty soon 2 hours of my day have gone by because I've been transferred to three different people. You know what I mean? So just yeah. stuff like that.
Exactly. And it's so hard, especially with people who are like actively seeking asylum and
Yeah,
like all of those. That's a whole nother like web of like rules that they need to follow that just adds on. It can be extremely frustrating.
totally. I completely agree.
And lastly, what would you like to see happen in like the next 5 years and the next 10 years with your program? What are your like shorter term and what are your longer term goals?
Hmm. Um, I think because we've gotten a lot of funding the past 2 years and we've gone through a change of leadership, um, between 2020 and 2023, I was a manager of
Mhm.
sorts, and we had the founder slash director, and we were just two staff. Occasionally, we would have summertime help, but um, now I took over as director on January 1st of this year, and I have another full-time staff and then a seasonal staff. Um, and we also are getting a lot of new infrastructure on our farm,
Mhm.
from this office to we're changing our landlord. Our landlord is now going to be the Chicago Park District, which is really good news. They're great to work with. They're just going to let us keep going as we've been and be a farm. I guess I'm trying to say there are a lot of changes that are happening currently or have happened recently or will happen in the next year
Mhm.
that I think the short-term goal is to get all systems down, all job descriptions
Mhm.
very clear. We're a small nonprofit, so me and my other full-time staff, Jessica, will be doing a variety of things. But
Yeah.
I think getting more settled in the job descriptions, me getting hopefully some just more experience under my belt as
Mhm.
I'm a first time executive director, so I'm interested in doing some training, perhaps some continuing education. And then yeah, when I say systems, I mean down to the T. I mean, we have this system slash infrastructure. We have this mobile office like I was talking about. We're getting a new website and just systems of like accounting and finance. There's a lot we're getting off the ground, even though we've been around for about 10 years or more. So I think the short-term goal is just making sure like everything's very clear, everything's figured out, systems are in place. And then I think beyond, but I think that'll be a shorter time than 5 years.
Mhm.
I think maybe like a few. And then I would love to, I'd love to get more land. I'd love to
Mhm.
expand because we've really outgrown the land we're on. We have a waiting list. We have more people who would love to sell produce. But that would necessitate hiring an extra person, perhaps like a farm expansion manager or something. I don't know what
Mhm.
the job title would be, but that would require more funding. So
Mhm.
I'm looking to make some strategic partnerships with foundations or corporate partners. Right now, we're funded by the USDA. That's a federal grant.
Mhm.
That's 3 years long, and then you can reapply. In some cases you can't, but so
Mhm.
the USDA and then ConAgra Brands Foundation, they have given us 50 grand this I think about 50 grand per year um for the past few years. And then the Riva and David Logan Foundation um have are also supporting us. So I'd love to get more, yeah, more financial support because that'll have
Mhm.
to come first before hiring the staff. So
Yeah.
that's the long-term goal.
Funding's the big word.
It is, unfortunately, but
Yeah, that tends to be a lot of the issues with nonprofits is being able to have the finance to do the things they want to do for these communities. Like that's definitely big ticket number.
totally. It's everything. So we've never had one other thing I'll say is we've heavily relied on grants and foundations, but I'd love to cultivate individual donors more, which is why we established this, like I said, this monthly membership program. And yeah, just find more creative ways to solicit donors because that's something we've actually never done as an organization. I think most nonprofits are doing that a lot, but I'd love for us to beef up our fundraising. So
Yeah, great. Any last comments before I let you get back to your busy schedule?
Um, thanks. Well, I'll just say that we have a few events coming up. We have a July 13th concert at the farm from 4 to 6:30. And we have some cooking classes coming up, one of which is with our farmers, so you can learn how to make Burmese food with her. Um, that's on June 25th. And yeah, I just would love if the community kept up with our events, which are all on our website, so they can come
Yeah,
by and check it out.
might be there.
Yeah,
Sounds
come by.
great.
It'll be fun.
I mean, Burmese food sounds amazing.
It will be amazing.
Great. Thank you so much for coming and
Yeah, thank you.
speaking with me.
Absolutely.
We at Latina Republic are so excited to follow your work going forward. And I'm very excited to see, and I really hope you get to do all the expansions and the great work that you guys are doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.